I'm Ryan Gage, and you're listening to Chris Gordon on Ramblings of a Hellblazer.
Okay, good evening everyone. Tonight I have the absolute pleasure of bringing to you the man with the engaging smile, who I've just made. There is a big smile on the screen for me. Mr. Ryan Gage, star of BBC's The Musketeers and obviously of The Hobbit as well. Good evening, Ryan. How are you?
Hi Chris.
Good evening. Yes, this is an absolute honour. Thank you very much for doing this and coming on to my little podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're most welcome.
After I bugged you at Comic-Con.
That's right. Well, you seemed so friendly, so I thought it would be a nice thing to do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I do appreciate the chocolate orange slice as well.
Oh yes,
yeah,
that's right.
My son obviously refused point blank to take anything from you.
Quite right too.
Yeah.
Quite right too. Shouldn't take sweets from strangers.
Oh no. That did. Makes us laugh every time we think about that. Cool. Okay, so I've got some questions here. Some general questions. One's about the Musketeers, and then questions about the Hobbit as well, which we'll just go through and just to get some stories from you as well from your sets that you've been on. So, first couple of questions are some general ones here. Is what or who inspired you to get into acting?
Well, that's a good question. There are lots of different people, I suppose. Some from my personal life, family members and teachers and things like that. I suppose lots and lots. But people that people listening to your podcast may have heard of, I suppose. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
And I think watching him, and I've sort of said this in interviews before, but it's still true, that his sort of physical articulacy, his sort of brilliance, his expression, the way that he was sort of became different characters within his dancing and within his singing, from moment to moment, always struck me as an extraordinary thing. And I think I wanted to sort of do something similar. Now, I didn't have his dancing ability, but I like the way that he sort of. Do you know what I mean? The way he's sometimes a tough guy, and sometimes he's like a sort of angelic, sort of choir boy or something, and the next minute he's sort of sensitive or sexy, and I was always struck by the many sort of colours and sides to him. That sounds silly, definitely doesn't. But you know what I mean. Of the performer, not the man, so there was that, but lots of things. Later on, I sort of discovered Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola and all that sort of thing. Is when I sort of fell in love with film, but I was a bit older then. Yeah. And I suppose somewhere in between those things, I, loved programs like British comedies that were on TV, the old ones like Rising Damp and Fletch from Porridge and the wonderful performances of people like Leonard Ruster and Ronnie Barker and great comedies like, I don't know, Blackadder and Red Dwarf and Rick and Eddie and the Young Ones and all of the Young Ones and all that stuff. I loved. All of that stuff made me want to be a performer. I suppose it makes lots of people want to be a performer. All of that stuff was very inspiring. I suppose it all just sort of came together. And I actually went and did it in the end.
Oh yeah, fantastic! That's really good. Sounds like you've had the same sort of raising bringing up as I have on TV. Yeah, that sort of genre of Blackadder and Red Dwarf and the Young Ones. Yeah, absolutely fantastic performers, and like you say, Michael Jackson as well. He's got to be one of my all-time favourites because regardless of the stories about him, he's got to be, I think, the best stage performer I've ever seen. And that sort of, like you say, the different characters he can portray and the shows that he actually put on were just phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a bit here.
That's all right. I keep coughing. Every time I speak, I've got a cough. So I apologise. I'll go on mute. So, do you prefer working in theatre or screen work? or is it?
I don't really prefer either. I'm really enjoying screen at the moment, and have no immediate plans to return to the theatre. But that's only really because, touch wood, I keep being offered various bits of screen stuff. And if you go and commit to theatre, that's something of a commitment. And you sort of, you can't sort of do both. And I'm having done theatre for such a long time. I'm really enjoying learning about the screen.
Yeah.
But I mean, theatre is my home. Really, it's where I started. I did it for a long, long time, and I will. I'm sure I will go back. And it'd be nice to mix. It probably would be nice to be more varied and mix it all up a bit more. But I sort of feel like I'm just having so much fun with the screen stuff, and it's so new to me still, even after however long have I been doing it now? Maybe 6 years properly as a solid sort of career, as opposed to a stage career.
Yeah.
But it still seems very new.
That's really cool. I think people are listening probably all prefer you to be on the screen as well. Or your Gagettes will be there. would love to keep you on the screen as well.
It's quite a nickname.
Yeah, I know it is, isn't it?
It sort of conjures up very camp people from what's that? Am I saying Sunset Boulevard? What are the Jets from?
Oh God, is it?
My mind's gone blank.
Yeah, no, I can't.
No, it's the Sharks and the Jets. What's that from?
The Sharks and the Jets. I'm not sure on that one.
Must be Sunset, but I can't remember. I'm sure somebody will tweet it. Cut that
out. Yeah, no. So you're right. It's a hell of a name to have for yourself, and you've got your own hashtags. That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's it's not. It's there's I mean, Twitter's a great place for people to have a laugh and meet up and find friends with common interests, and I think that's more. It's less about me than about a meeting point for other people, really.
Yeah, all the fans getting together.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's like I sort of dip into it when I can, and it's lovely to hear people sort of making friends with each other who have seen different bits of my work here and there and start talking to each other. It's quite touching, and they all seem very nice people.
Awesome, great. What kind of role would you aspire to do? What's your sort of dream role?
Well, I mean, I would like to play the classical parts in the theatre or on screen. I'd love to play Hamlet. I'd love to play the Scottish King. I'd love to play Iago, and I'd love to play Richard II and Richard III and King Lear and all those things, and other less other Jacobeans that aren't Shakespeare that are very good at all. I love Spanish Golden Age theatre and some great sort of German theatre. So there are great parts, great huge sort of roles that you'd be crazy not to want to get your teeth into. But in terms of filming and film parts, I'm open. I'm quite lucky. I'm a character actor, and relatively, I aspire to be transformative. And so I think it took a little while for casting directors perhaps to realise what my casting was, maybe because I've played a lot of roles in various different ways. I don't sort of stick to one thing. But now I think people are starting to recognise that you can cast me in lots of different things, and hopefully I'll do my best at it. And as a result, I get quite varied, amount of things to do and characters. So I don't really aspire to do any one particular role. I sort of look forward to what people ask me to do, and often, that some of the auditions or some of the things I get offered are often very interesting and surprise even me sometimes. I mean, it was like that when I was in the theatre. I was quite varied in what I did, and it's starting to be that way on screen as well.
That's really fantastic. Well, it's good, like you say, every sort of role you get, you bring your own thing to it, so it's a whole new dimension. So you know, whatever you do, it's always making you at that point in time. I guess that'll be the best, you know, the best experience that you can get at the time. So, and the different variations you get. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm ramblings of a hellblazer. But I think you know what I mean. Yeah,
Get that manage in.
Yeah. Oh God, I need it today.
I know. I didn't get any sleep last night at all.
Oh God, no. That's no good.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Okay, moving on to the next one. What would be the most difficult scene you've ever had to do across all of the work that you've done?
Goodness me, that's a really hard question. Well, yeah, I mean, for different reasons. It's always hard if something is extremely funny and it's not supposed to be. So, in this current season, I don't know how much of this I can say. I better be very careful.
Yeah, don't worry.
But yeah, in this current season of the Musketeers, we have Rupert Everett playing a character. I think that's common knowledge now, so I think I can say that.
Okay.
And in one scene, he tried to say the words Low Countries,
Right.
but came up with something very different and very, very dirty. And we subsequently just fell about laughing, and the director had to send us outside to separate corners because every time the words Low Countries was pronounced again, one of us would just fall to pieces. And yeah, there were things like we had to close our eyes and do the scene. We had to look in different directions. It was absolutely impossible. So that was, that was a very amusing and difficult. I can't think of anything sort of, if you mean sort of challenging in terms of acting, well, lots of things are, to be honest. I mean, but anything you have never done before, really, there's always a sort of fear that you're gonna not do it your best. And you know, my approach to these things generally is to try to be fearless and to not worry about being bad and hope that the editor or the director have some taste and will edit around your appalling mistakes. Doesn't always happen, but generally speaking, you know, the only way to sort of do something like that, I think, is to go for it, because otherwise you end up sort of phoning in something too safe, and it's not really why I do what I do. I don't want this to be a sort of, you know, I don't want this to be a sort of day at the office for me. I'd rather sort of try and learn something, and to be honest, if I look like an idiot and people go, "Oh, wasn't he terrible? Didn't he do some terrible acting there?" I couldn't really give a damn. You know, I probably know it more than they do.
Yeah.
So I'd rather learn something, get something wrong, and take the risk that I might do something rather good. You know, and if I never ever do anything any good ever in my entire career, well, at least I tried.
Well, yeah. What's that phrase? Something to do with regrets, isn't it? You might as well do it and regret it afterwards, and not do it and not and then regret it for the rest.
I really do think so.
Take the risks, do it.
Yeah, you learn things along the way, obviously, that sort of make you a bit more consistent. And you notice you're becoming more consistent because the way that editors sort of hang on you a bit more and stuff like that. But at the same time, I would hate to, I'd hate to get sort of bored of what I do. So I sort of like to surprise myself, really.
All right, cool. That sounds great. I do like the story about Rupert Everett. He's on IMDb. He's been in it, so you're all right with that one. Yeah, I won't have to edit that.
Letter from the BBC lawyers.
Yeah. I was just checking it there while you're talking, just to make sure.
I thought you were looking extremely uninterested in my story.
Oh no, I wasn't. Oh no. Yeah, thanks.
I'm only joking.
Oh, no. Cool. Is there any kind of a location around the world that you'd love to film in?
Oh yeah, loads of countries I'd love to film in. I'd love to go to, well, it's not a country, it's a continent, but I'd love to go to Africa. I've never been. I sort of had planned to. and then never quite made it. And a lot of filming gets done in Cape Town, so I hope one day to see that.
Oh, right, that'll be good.
I'd love to go to Cuba. I'd love to see sort of Thailand and places like that. I mean, it's just wonderful to if you ever get to travel anywhere. When I went to New Zealand, it was obviously I had actually been to New Zealand before, but you can never quite sort of get enough of that place. It's so beautiful. And I took the opportunity to go to Australia as well while I was there. And obviously, I've spent a lot of time in Prague. I haven't done that much filming in different places, but yeah, I mean, goodness, anywhere really.
All right, cool. I'm hoping to get to New Zealand later this year. Actually, we're just sort of discussing it at the moment, having a 3-week vacation over there.
Where are you thinking of going?
We're not sure yet. That's kind of still where we're looking. It'll probably do a tour of both islands, just to try and take in as much as we can. Yeah,
do it. That's the way to do it, definitely.
Yeah. Try and get that. I want to see Middle Earth as well, obviously.
Yeah. Peter Capaldi visited Middle Earth recently. I got a lovely photograph of him coming out of, or was that a tweet? I can't remember now. These things all merge into one. But somebody sent me a picture of him coming out of a Hobbit hole, and it may have been him. But I did get a lovely phone call from him and Peter Jackson and Philippa and Fran, and with Peter. Quite late at night over there and quite early in the morning for me. The day that I met you at that convention.
Oh, yeah.
And so that morning I'd been speaking to Peter Jackson and Peter Capaldi.
Wow.
All the Peters in New Zealand while they were having a rare old time by all accounts. And then that hilarious Doctor Who video came out with them.
Oh, God, yeah.
So that was all. Yeah, so I can't remember what I was talking about now, but I don't know why I told you that story. But yeah.
Oh no, that's really cool.
That was in New Zealand, anyway. Oh yeah, because he went to see the Hobbit.
Yeah, went to see the Hobbit and Hobbiton. No, that's brilliant. That's really cool. Can't believe that the same day. It's just name dropping there. Peace. It
was. I mean, they don't ring me every day, but they did ring me that day.
That's really cool. Okay, moving on now to some questions directed for the Musketeers. But before I do, I shall read out some feedback that I've been reading about your role as obviously King Louis.
Do I want to hear this?
No, it's all great. It's great. People are just saying. I mean,
you've edited it. You've edited that.
I've edited out, but no, there's no bad.
Very
Okay, you got Bishop 2 says, obviously quoting you saying, "Look at him. Of course, he's my son." With your smile, then, and saying, "I need a mirror to find a better likeness." Just saying that made him laugh. Basically saying that you've done an amazing job with that role, especially given the change in character between season 1 and 2, that you absolutely sold it.
Season 3.
Season 3, yeah.
Say that, dear.
Ryan.
Later.
Yeah. Ryan Gage delivers the Child King really well. The way you reacted to your mother's presence or to Queen Anne coming back safe and sound after an attempt on her life are good examples. And not to mention the way you giggle every time you make a joke.
I do that anyway. That's not hard. She was a lovely actress, actually. Who played my mother. She was wonderful.
Awesome. But yeah, there's just some of the many feedback and many comments online regarding your performance as King Louis.
That's very kind. Each and every one of them, they're very kind.
Just thought I'd bring them out. So, okay, first questions are from a Gabrielle Fritz on Twitter, and this is.
I recognise that name. Actually, I think I see her name.
All right. Cool. What did you enjoy most in shooting season 3? That you're allowed to talk about.
I didn't have to shave. Primarily, that was the first plus.
Okay.
No, there were lots of extraordinary things. It's a little bit later on. Time has moved on. I don't know how much of this has been released yet, so I need to be careful. But time has moved on. So and so has Louis, and so I enjoyed. Yeah, making that step, and finding where he was in his life, and how the years that had passed and the experiences he'd had up until that point had shaped and evolved his personality. So I really enjoyed that. I also got some great scenes this year.
Cool.
I think I'm probably in it a little less than I was in season 2.
Right.
But when I'm in it, it's really good stuff. And I sort of, and I'm quite happy with that, really.
Yeah.
Because they're always really great scenes. So yeah, that's the sort of thing I really enjoyed. And there's some, and there was there's lovely actors in it this year, as there always are lovely actors, but there's tons of new actors in it.
Okay.
So it's all very, very refreshed in that regard. And all the old favourites as well. So yeah, it's a great series.
Fantastic. Going back to saying how many seasons
and lots of great directors as well, and old favourite directors coming back.
All right, fantastic. It is such an enigmatic show, the Musketeers. Everyone involved, it just makes it so brilliant. I remember started watching season 1 myself and went back, and it was like, it's like, all right, okay, what's this? You knew what it's about. Sorry, it's just sit down, let's start watching it, and that was it. And I was glued right the way through, and absolutely gutted every time the season finished because it's like, no, come on, I want to see more. But so the portrayal from yourself, obviously it's King Louis and everyone else, in the various roles they were in, it is such a powerful drama, and there's a nice mix of humour in there as well, subtle humour, which is brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's. I think the first series, it took a little while for us to find our feet and to find what the show was going to be, really, because it could have gone many ways. There were a lot of elements. There were a lot of elements in the book, and it sort of flits very sophisticated, but very lightly. Sophisticatedly, but very sort of lightly. What's the word I'm looking for? Like deftly or something. Between sort of action and humour and sort of romance in the book.
Yeah.
And you have to make a choice with the show as to whether you're going to do the same thing or you're going to do something else, and what the tone is and stuff like that. So I think we were all sort of working that out. And the second season, it was a lot clearer, and I think we were all a lot clearer of what we were making.
Yeah.
And subsequently for the third series, and in a way, I don't know. Actually, I haven't seen enough of it to be able to tell, but possibly it's somewhere in between, perhaps third series, or maybe not. I don't really know.
All right. Okay. Excellent. I think there's only one other question I could probably ask, which you wouldn't get into trouble for, since they're all about season 3. Yeah. So I don't really want to put you in a position where you're.
Well, that's fine. I mean, it's okay.
Coming out soon enough, but Okay. Would you like to shoot more of the show? Obviously, season 3. Would you like to see it continue after that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it continue. I would, yeah, absolutely. I love Louis and I love the show, and it would be lovely for it to go on and on and on. I'd like to go and do some other things as well, were that possible. But yeah, I mean, I had a ball. I love the character, of course.
Okay, excellent. The next one's from MB, which we kind of already. I'll just give a shout to MB because we kind of sort of talked about it anyway. Because she was also, where would you see yourself going after the Musketeers has ended, film, TV, or back on stage? Which we've kind of already.
Sorry, where would I see myself
going?
Yeah, the show's ended?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once the show is ended. Projects new. I don't.
Whatever life throws
I genuinely don't have a sort of great overreaching plan. Like I say, it would, if I sort of come to the end of my career, hopefully in many, many years' time, and haven't sort of gone back to classical theatre at some point, I think I may sort of have a little pang of regret about that. But like you say, I'm not, as long as I'm working, as long as somebody's going to employ me somewhere in something interesting, I've been very lucky. But I don't consider myself a movie star or a TV star or any of those things. I just consider myself an actor.
Yeah.
And I'm just as happy, really, on the stage, performing in front of 50 people as I am, doing anything else. And that's the truth of it. That is why I do it. It's lovely getting to work with wonderful, great productions and. And I've enjoyed, in more recent years, I've enjoyed a lot of the benefits of that. But I genuinely, it is about acting and about without trying to sound too pretentious, about the art. If that's quite the right word for what I do. The work.
No, art's a good word for it. Yeah. All right, cool. I've got a couple from myself as well. Your portrayal of King Louis, obviously. I'm not being sycophantic here, but it was exquisite. You captured the ruthlessness, naivety, fragility of the actual king himself. What research did you do into the real King Louis? I mean, he was only age 9 when he became king, so.
Yeah, I got a couple of biographies and I read them. I sort of I often do a lot of research, and I expected to do a great deal of research throughout the whole sort of Musketeers journey.
Mm-hmm.
But then it became apparent to me that the Louis that we were writing wasn't really the historical Louis, and he wasn't really the Louis of the Demar book, particularly. He was sort of heavily referenced to him, but he sort of became his own thing, and so I sort of put the books away,
right?
Because they sort of started to become counterproductive in a way.
Yeah.
And I just decided, once we'd sort of done the first series, that I knew who he was now, and he was my creation, not solely my creation, the creation of the writers and Adrian Hodges' version of the historical and the fictional, and then my contribution to that as an interpretive person, creative person. So then I sort of that sort of detail I didn't sort of dwell on so much. Which is not what I expected to do, but that is what I did. I mean, possibly that was laziness, but I sort of don't think so. I tend not to be lazy about things if I find them useful. I tend to do what I think is most helpful and most freeing.
Yeah.
And and I think actually it wasn't helping me in that case. But if I was, I played a serial killer in something. And I didn't have very long to prepare it because it was all a bit last minute.
Right.
And I was desperately reading as much as I could to try and sort of figure out who this person was and what they were like.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely clung to that material because it was all I had in this short space of time. I never got to the point where I felt the liberty to sort of, and still, I'm satisfied with my performance to some degree, but I still go, well, nothing like the person, like when I sort of realize, and that's just to do with time, really. You can't. It's you can only do so much in the time you're given. But with Louis, I've had a real luxury. It's been 3 years sort of inhabiting this person. Hopefully, you get a bit better at it.
Oh no, that's cool. The fact that you actually say you've made the character your own anyway, so it's just amazing to be able to develop it in your own way, develop it in your own stance, and not be limited to words obviously written in the books of the past. That you can actually move that out and make everything your own. It's probably a better way, I think, in some cases like this, obviously, especially with the sort of the theme of the show and the fact that in the way that it handles situations, but the Louis that you've got, I think, fits absolutely perfect.
The somebody, I better plug this in. I think my battery's about to run out. Just a second.
Certainly.
Yep.
Get back on.
Sorry, I'm back.
Cool. So you're throwing me now. Did you? I mean, sorry. Obviously, the production of Musketeers is very well done throughout. Once again, the cast is shining through. Did you all have a good bond with each other off stage as well?
It's one of the most. Well, it's up there with some of the most sociable projects I've ever done. Hugo Spear is just the most sort of gregarious fellow. You know, he's just so welcoming and
Yeah.
takes the time to make sure everyone's having a good time and looks after every guest, takes them under his wing, type of thing, if he can.
Cool.
And likewise, Luke, who plays D'Artagnan, is likewise. You know, he will always, you know, come round to my house, and you know, because they've all got apartments out there. I always had a hotel,
right?
Because I sort of came and went a lot more. But you know, he was always inviting people over, and you know, come for a meal, come and have a little party or something. You know, so there was a great deal of that went on, and we all got very close. At one point, there was quite a consistent little band going on with a few of us doing various bits and pieces.
Cool.
You know, and that included some of the crew and directors and some of the actors and some of the guests who come in. And I think we showed most of the guests a great time. I think most of the guests who came on the show, I'd like to think, the impression that I got was it's, you know, one of the funnest jobs they've come on to do for the for the social aspect, and if nothing else. Because we all got on great.
Brilliant. That sounds fantastic. My last question on the Musketeers, before the last question from a fan on Musketeers, is: you had the pleasure of working alongside 3 gorgeous actresses, with the lovely Alexandra as your screen wife and Mamie as Mistress De Winter, who is your lover. You got to work both of those. Are they both as enchanting as in real life as they appear?
Well, yes, they are. There's no other way to say it. Yeah, most definitely. They're very, very beautiful, and Tamla as well, of course, who wasn't anything to do with me, isn't the other.
She was there. Yeah.
Great beauty, but and we've had many on the series, and there are more to come.
Excellent.
You know, obviously we need something because the fellas are so god awful to look at.
Well, they are for what can you do? You need some. You need some sort of screen beauty on there, don't you?
You know. Luke and Santi and Tom and Howard. I mean, God, poor fellas.
I know. Yeah, what can you do? Hey?
I know.
Awesome. Right, last one is from Fiona Simpson. Having played King Louis VIII in the Musketeers, are there any other kings would you like to play, or historical figures? You kind of mentioned a few with Shakespeare, with the old "Now is the winter of our discontent" and the Scottish one. But any other historical kings?
Any other historical kings I'd like to play? Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm more than prepared to play any historical king if he sounds interesting.
Fair enough.
I don't harbour any particular king, you know, historical kings other than the Shakespearean kings.
Yeah. Fantastic. Cool. Okay, moving on to the Hobbit then. There's another big following of people wanting to ask questions of you. From Anna XX. She would also like to put across that you are one of her favourite actors, and she's very happy with your continued success.
That's very kind.
What kind of character would you think Aflrid would have been if he'd been good?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that Alfred's not evil, you know, in the way that sort of Sauron or
Saruman and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of thing. You know, that he's not evil. Yeah, that's what I meant. You know, he's just a coward and a survivor. He could easily have been a good person. He just didn't, you know, circumstances and sort of neglect and abuse and mistreatment have warped, just as his body is warped, his mind is also warped. He doesn't see the good in people. He doesn't have a great deal of empathy. He finds it hard. You know, he probably needs the love of a good woman or something.
Fair enough. I say he wasn't evil. I think it was a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, he's just one of those people. You know, he's a an idiot. It's not his fault. He doesn't have the mechanisms to be much better than that. But he does have a sort of cunning about him, an instinctive cunning that's not stupid.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous combination, idiocy and sort of animal cunning. But it will probably see you through, or not.
As the case may be.
As the case may be.
No, that's cool. Okay, from Adele Carlisle, behind the scenes of The Hobbit. Again, it's similar to the Musketeers one. Behind the scenes of The Hobbit, you all had such a great time. You seem to have had such a great time, and seeing you at the conventions all together and stuff. I guess it's true that you just had such a special bond.
The Hobbit guys.
Yeah, the Hobbit guys. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly at the time we were very, very close. We were all thrown together for 3 years for some of them, and I was sort of there 6 months solidly. And I see very little of them now, to be honest. The occasional message here and there, and at the conventions and things like that. Sometimes you see some people.
Yeah.
But years and years have passed now. It's a long time ago, even though they keep bringing them out. Like the actual day-to-day of seeing everybody.
Yeah.
Is not something I see as much. But it's always lovely to see people when I do. Because it was a very special job for all of us. I'm sure. It doesn't get much bigger. And I think generally. There were some lovely individuals and a lovely collective. It was a lovely collective experience, which came from the top. Peter Jackson sort of insists on nice people and a nice atmosphere, and it sort of
cool.
It sort of creates one.
Fantastic. How long? Oh, you just said you were New Zealand for 6 months. You were over there for.
Yeah, well, I mean, not consistently. I was sort of back and forth. But
right. Okay.
It turned out it was about 6 months in total.
Yeah. So I think Adele would like to know if you were able to see any other parts of her country in your downtime. She's from New Zealand herself, so she said just.
I did. I saw plenty. I saw lots of parts.
Excellent.
All of which were, each bit is more staggering than the next bit. Doesn't really matter where you go. You just sort of fall in love with the next bit, don't you?
Yeah, it's just one of those countries. Looking at the brochures for when we're hopefully going to go. It's just every time you look at some new the new picked page, it's like whoa, just can't wait to go. Okay, so from Vendre, to help shape Aflrid as a character, did you create a backstory for him whilst amongst the elaborate set of Laketown? And if so, what type of life would he have led up to the point when we first see him?
Well, I did. I created a vast backstory for him at the time. If you were to ask me what it was now, I'm afraid I can remember.
Several years passed.
I threw away, or I think I shredded, in fact, a whole bunch of notes that I'd written about him recently. There was space to keep them anymore, but I'd written tons of stuff. Notebooks full of stuff about him and stuff like that, but none of which I have any sort of. If I look at them now, it looks like I'm reading hieroglyphics, but it obviously meant something at the time. Strange quotes and lists. I think I did all sorts of bizarre things like inventories for the master and all sorts of. There wasn't much soap on it. Anything. I created all sorts of things, and I had history, family histories, biography. I went into all sorts of detail, and my vague memory of it all is that he had a very hard life and was, like I say, neglected and abused, and sort of pulled himself up by the bootstraps and became an important member of the society that he lived in. Whether he got to that position of security, remember that Laketown is in sort of dire straits when we see it, when we meet it.
Yeah, yes.
People are hungry, and there's an air of discontent.
Yeah.
So, and rebellion, so he sort of represents the sort of dictatorship of the master. He's sort of he's the sort of intellectual, for want of a better word, henchman. He's the counselor. He provides advice. Whether he provides the best advice in the world is, and his moral compass is skewed. To be honest, I think some of the Aflrid fans probably can remember more of the backstory because I've mentioned bits of it. But it evolved. To be honest, the backstory evolved as well. Like I was working on it for a year before I even started the job or something like that from the first auditions. So, I was thinking about it and doing things, and it's all in. It changed and evolved, and I'll tell you a good example of how it changed. It was that for my first film, which was the Desolation film, there was no real mention of gold, really. I mean, there was mention of gold for the dwarves, but Aflrid wasn't quite as sort of gold fixated.
Yeah.
And was sort of more, it seemed to me, was more interested in power and survival and those sorts of things. But then subsequently in the third film, The Battle, he suddenly became much more interested less interested in political power and political sort of security, and much more interested in sort of coins, in gold and what he could get, which was probably a necessity as he sort of lost political. But then I suddenly had to sort of figure out where that came from and where that sort of greed and so I sort of had to go and rethink about things that were in his past and stuff like that. It's not an exact backstory as an exact science. You sort of have to change things and as and when, especially when the script is changing all the time, which it was in The Hobbit. It was being written as we were going along.
Yeah, well, I suppose as well as once you find yourself in that character and you've been immersed in that character on the actual screen as well, like you say, then you can start thinking of how maybe I could change it this way, change it that way, and and think this way. I guess, I mean, it's evolution of a character.
When you get out on that screen and it's there to support you. You can write as much backstory as you like. You've still got to go out and do the scene.
Yeah.
but these things can just feed the imagination and sort of give you something. When you're out, when you feel that you're a bit at sea, sort of give you an idea and an inspiration for the way you say a line or the thought behind something. So I did quite a lot of that stuff. But if you were to ask me what it was now, I'm afraid it's been a long time. I've thought of many backstories of other characters.
Oh yeah, no problem. One from me is obviously talking about Laketown and the Master of Laketown. What was it like working with Stephen Fry? I think he's one of the most guys I respect the most. And Mr. Fry, if you are listening to this ever, because I would love for you to come on as well. And my dad played for him once in the Footlights Club in Cambridge. He was a drummer, my dad. And I remember that's my dad's claim to fame. He said he remembers being at Cambridge at the same time as Stephen Fry. What was it like to work with Stephen?
It was a joy. He's an extraordinary person. Incredible company. Just sort of, just full of stories and interesting things. He's somebody who collects and has a real facility for collecting information, and the information that he chooses to collect is just the most fascinating and sort of highbrow stuff. But also, he's so up to date with technology, and he loves sport, and he can talk to anybody about anything, and he's an excellent communicator, and so he's a real one-off and an extraordinarily charming and brilliant person, and interesting and so complicated as a human being as well. So he's lots of things. It was a great joy and privilege to be in his company. Never mind working with him.
No, fantastic. So one day I'd love to meet him myself. I say I've obviously admired him throughout my years as well, from when he started out with Hugh Laurie, and for me that was when I first saw him with him.
I think a lot of people say the same thing. You know.
He's got one of those things. Okay, final question for The Hobbit is someone. This one I've not sent to you. This was a late coming in. This is from someone who I'll only announce as Jay.
Okay.
How many free lunches did you have before you actually did any work? Because you and Billy Connolly were apparently seen a lot at the catering tent in your civvies. I think, I'll say this, Jay might have been sat next to you at Comic-Con.
I see. Well, I mean, I don't know about free lunches. I mean, it was lunch. It wasn't. Yeah. I don't know about. We didn't really think of it as a free lunch. It was just lunch. But it was free. I didn't pay for it. That is true. How many? I mean, 3 months worth, I suppose. Really, no. I mean, not before I did any work. Basically, I used to go in. What I think this is what Jay is referring to is that often Billy and I would we shared a driver,
right?
The lovely Alicia, and she would come and pick me up in the afternoon, just before we knew lunch was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then she'd go to Billy's place and pick up Billy, and then we'd get in the car and we'd have a lovely chinwag all the way and have a few laughs. And then we'd get and eat the most delicious lunch, because they really did provide the most delicious lunch out there. And lovely New Zealand coffee, which is so very good. and we'd do that every day, whether we were working or not. Shamelessly. And it was something of a joke. I remember Martin, Freeman, would love to sort of make jokes about the fact we were only here for the lunch, and do we ever do any bloody work, and all this. Yeah. Which was all very funny. But there was a certain, it's such a big sprawling thing. You're out there and they know they need you, but some things get pushed back. So much filming on that scale certainly is waiting, especially when you're not, The Hobbit or Thorin or something, But I was going to say, Thorin, what is wrong with me? And so you end up hanging around, and that was some of the best food in town. So
well, why not hang out there?
Gravitate towards that.
Fair enough. For those people who listen, Jay is actually Jed Brophy.
Is that really from Jed?
It was from Jed. I did ask him. Can he? I did ask him. I sent him a message and said, "Have you got anything that you want to send to Ryan that I might make him laugh or trip him up?"
He is such a naughty fella. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he did actually also say to send his love to you as well. He says you're a top bloke, or choice, as they say in New Zealand. So he sends his love.
That cheeky bugger.
Yeah. I thought it might be a bit but I'll see if he's got any little thing that might make you trip you up when you're or make you suddenly think, what the hell?
Yeah, he was another person. Him and Martin were particularly mean to us about the lunch thing. We were shameless. We didn't care. We enjoyed those lunches. We didn't have to eat them as often in full prosthetic. Well, I'd never have to eat them in full prosthetic. Yeah. But they're just complaining because they were constantly trying to shovel food, gorgeous food in their mouths through huge beards and bits of plastic.
No, that's cool. I did love the banter between you guys at Comic-Con as well. It was hilarious. Just before we got to you, there was I think there's some girls, obviously, plenty of girls that come to see you. But there was a whole load of, they were trying to take a selfie with you, and he was stood up in the background giving a little rabbit sign. And I think he just turned around. He was like, "Yeah, I've got a photo bomb. I've got to make the photo worth something."
Yeah, he was very envious of. He was very envious of the attention I was getting that day. Bless him.
Yeah.
He's gorgeous.
No, so I thought I'd ask. After seeing you the banter that you had together there, I thought I'll ask him and see if there's anything he wants to get you with.
Yeah, well, he's not wrong. We did eat a lot of lunch.
Awesome. Upcoming work then for yourself. I've seen you got something called 100 Streets, which is coming out this year, where you play Vincent. Is there anything? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was something I filmed a year or so ago. I think it's sort of been delayed, actually. I think it was supposed to come out this year, but for whatever reason it didn't, and these things happen. It's an interesting thing. It's got Idris Elba in it. It's about London. I haven't actually seen it, so I can't really tell you a huge amount about it. I've only read it, and again, some time ago now. But it's really interesting and sort of very contemporary and very sort of. It's got the sort of heartbeat of the street about it, and my character is a sort of somebody from the underworld who sort of from the petty underworld, but it's got a sort of twinkle of humour about it as well. It's a very, very short cameo. I just did it because I didn't just do it. I did it because it looked like fun, and I liked the people involved, and I just sort of sometimes if something nice like that pops up, it's nice to sort of go and spend a day on set being somebody other than Louis.
Fair enough.
Get away from it all.
Fair enough. I'll keep an eye out for that one as well. It should be out sometime this year, is it?
Yeah, 2016 is my understanding. I think there was a slight delay there for technical reasons or something.
Oh, right, okay, cool. Okay, my final question, which is not relating to anything you've done. Have you seen Star Wars?
I have. I went to the premiere.
Oh, very nice.
A very close friend of Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Captain Phasma.
All right, awesome.
Gwen and I were at drama school together, so she very sweetly invited me along to see the premiere.
Brilliant.
And I enjoyed it very much.
Fantastic. It was a very good film. So.
It is, yeah. It's they really it reminds me of the ones from the 70s.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely that flavour about it.
Yeah, definitely. Did a great job.
Definitely. Okay, brilliant. That brings me to the end of my interview questions for you today, Ryan. Thank you very much again for the time that you've spent. It's been absolutely amazing.
You're very welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much. Okay, listeners, that has been Ryan Gage. Thank you very much, Ryan.